Howdy, good afternoon. Okay, the SSA has just put out a piece on how to protect yourselves from identity thieves. This is a big, huge thing. It seems like everywhere you turn, whether it's people you know or people you read about, there's so much identity theft. And it often includes Social Security and has to for them to gain the benefits that they're seeking. So here's a little ditty, and I'll put a button towards the end where you can go to this directly. Okay, just look for, I think when you're looking at it, I think it's in the upper, I don't know my right from my left, your upper right. Okay. Yes, I'm one of those people that have difficulty with my right and my left when it's on quick demand. Okay, so they just go into this and talk about that the consequences of identity theft are not just financial, they can be others. And it's when basically they steal your personal information in order to impersonate you or to steal from you. They point out, and I think this must be true, that episodes of identity theft can impact physical, mental, and emotional health. That would make sense. I mean, if you're wiped out financially due to identity theft, the emotional health would certainly be affected, right? The stress, the strain, all that stuff. They tell us that there are two types of identity theft that we should be aware of. They talk about the thieves stealing your data, your physical or digital data, without contacting you directly. And in other times, they do contact you directly and convince you to provide the sensitive information yourself. It's when this happens, generally the person that gave the information doesn't even know they're being stolen from. They think they've been deceived into thinking it's someone innocuous and that they should be giving the information to, when in fact that is really not so. This is the thing that they're going to do with some of the information, and the information that they will take, which be like your name, your address, your social, credit card or bank account numbers, medical insurance account numbers even. And they use it to do, there's a slew of things. They'll obviously buy things with your credit card or your bank account. They can get new credit cards in your name and then go spend on those. This happened to me once, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. They can use your Social Security number to get a job. They can open phone or utility accounts in your name. And of course, if they don't pay them, then it's going to be your bad credit. For any of these things that they don't pay, they can steal your tax refund if you're fortunate enough to have one. They'll get medical care using your health insurance information. I mean, they could be hitting you up with a deductible that you're going to find later that you have to pay. If they are arrested, this one's a doozy. They could pretend to be you. So you have the arrest record. You're the one that spent time in jail. Yeah, it's so scary. So then they have a section on how to spot the identity theft. They say that we should keep track of our mail for missing bills or other documents. It brings me up the question, if we pay our bills through the internet, such as bank sends it automatically, that seems kind of safe. Or you go right to the entity that you pay it at and they have your credit card information. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know which one's better. Are they secure? It seems like every super secure big entity has been hacked at some time. So it doesn't seem like anything is truly secure. And the bigger and more robust the company and their investment in cybersecurity, it seems like they tend to be the ones that are also the focus for the hackers. So, the big guys. They say that we should review our credit card and bank statements for unauthorized transactions. This one seems like a no-brainer. I know I don't do it enough. Although I should say I'm in there a lot of the time because I always have to make sure there's enough money to pay the bills. So maybe I am in there enough. Certainly the bank accounts. I'm not so sure on the credit cards. And they remind us to review our credit report regularly. And check to see in particular that there are not new accounts in there that you are unfamiliar with. If there's a new account, that means someone else opened an account in your name. And that's surely going to go south. They talk about ways to prevent the identity theft of ourselves. The obvious, protect documents that have your personal information, ask questions before giving out your social security number. Yeah. And then you're like, well, what questions? I mean, to find out if the place is legitimate, of course. Obviously, if someone calls you and says they are the Social Security Administration, if you don't know for sure it is, I would say, I'm going to call you back. Give me, what, and then you look up the number of give me your extension, and then you look up the phone number for the actual SSA. Don't use the one necessarily that they gave you unless you know that to be the right one. That might be a way. They talk about protecting our personal information online, which could also be on your phone, by using a strong password and adding multi-factor authentication when offered. I see the multi-factor authentication being offered a lot now. Normally, if I go online, now I have to also go to my phone, and it'll either be a texted, like a 6-number code, or it'll be emailed, and then I have to put it in to the spot where they're saying for me to get in. I guess that's okay. I mean, is it a little slower? It is, but I don't really use a hugely complicated password because I always want to be able to figure it out. So that multi-factor is probably good for many of us, because many of us don't use a password like this that is unable to be remembered, particularly when you have to change them all the time. And then lastly, what to do. Oh yeah, definitely. One more thing, they talk about safeguarding your information on social networks. This is very true. And I hate to say it, but I'd also say, and we all do this, but particularly for people who have become single or widowed, could be divorced, and particularly of an older generation, perhaps even older than myself, by changing your status to widowed, I think it's a magnet. Just happened to a family member of mine, without a good outcome. So, and what happened is, person becomes widowed, all these vulturous unknown entities befriend the lonely widower. Most of these unknown entities have incredibly sexy physiques and want to be friends and want to help and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, phone numbers are traded. And I will say that this particular family member, and this is a heartbreaking story, and I'm not going to go into it more than this, but I will say recently I traveled to his home and, trying to clean up a few things, found more Apple gift cards than I could count. And they had all been opened, the numbers transferred to somebody else, and used. And he didn't give them to himself. Okay. So what I imagine happened was directed by his new friends to go buy these Apple gift cards. I think they were bought at CVS. And then you call the new little hoochie friend, and you give the numbers that they can use to then purchase things online. There's no tracing. That's what this is all about. So don't do that, guys. And the last section, I think it's the last section, it's about what to do if you believe you have been a victim of someone stealing your identity. They said definitely report it to the company where it occurred. Contact one of the credit bureaus to place a fraud alert on your credit report. It says contact a credit bureau. I don't know if you have to do all 3 of the majors. They also say to file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission, and the link to that is right on this page, and I'm going to be linking this page in that button I set up in the upper right. And lastly, file a police report. I had alluded to the fact that I had been identity thefted. I was a long time ago. I was pregnant with my son, actually. It was a couple months before I was being born, and I noticed that my credit score, which wasn't like super high, but it took a major plummet in a matter of weeks. So I looked at my credit report. I found a loan had been taken out. I don't know if it was a credit card or just a loan. I don't know how, what that was, out in California for about $8,000. And then within a couple months, when they didn't pay back according to the terms of the agreement, the credit went downhill, which is what alerted me to that something was wrong. It took me, I did all the things they're talking about here. I reported it to the bank that took the loan out. I put the fraud alerts on all three of the credit bureaus. I filed a complaint, I believe, with the Federal Trade Commission. That one I might not have, not sure. I could have. I definitely filed a police report because it was mandatory in order for the credit bureaus. They give me a step-by-step of what I have to do to get this off my credit report. I did it all. It took like 8 months. Yes, I did it with a newborn with a bad case of eczema. Yeah, that was crazy. But anyway, it's a pain in the rear, but you got to do it. And I can only imagine it's getting worse. Can only imagine. I mean, that was 15 years ago when it happened to me. Imagine now how much more we're online, and it's crazy. But anyway, that is the update from today from the SSA about this whole issue. So take heed. I think it's a great little share, and I'm sharing it to you. Bye now.